Hello everyone, it's Clay Jenkinson. I'm out listening to America and I'm on the Mississippi River here, just a couple of miles from the bend where the Ohio comes in. The Ohio starts at Pittsburgh and comes down to Cairo, Illinois, and then joins the great Mississippi River. Lewis and Clark came down the Ohio, and then they turned up the Mississippi to St. Louis, and then across the Mississippi at St. Louis into the Missouri and all the way into Montana. So this is a really important Lewis and Clark place, and you see the majesty of the Mississippi River here. It's also one of the most important places in American literature, because if you know your Huck Finn, which is probably America's greatest book, Jim is an enslaved man. He and Huck are running away for different reasons. Huck is running away from an alcoholic and violent father, and Jim is running away from slavery. And they wind up together, and they float down on a raft, as you all know. And the idea is that when they get to Cairo, which is the mouth of the great Ohio, they'll turn left, because under the code of the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, everything above the Ohio on the north side is free country. Everything south of the Ohio River is slave country. And so this is a really important moment. They have to hit this, and they're a little bit worried about it. And chapter 16, which is my favorite chapter in Huckleberry Finn, contains some of the greatest writing in all of American literature. Starts this way. We slept most all day and started out at night a little ways behind a monstrous long raft that was as long going by as a procession. She had 4 long sweeps at each end, so we judged she carried as many as 30 men likely. She had 5 big wigwams aboard, wide apart, and an open campfire in the middle, and a tall flagpole at each end. There was a power of style about her. It amounted to something, being a raftsman on such a craft as that. And now this sentence. We went drifting down into a big bend, and the night clouded up and got hot. The river was very wide and was walled with solid timber on both sides. You couldn't see a break in it hardly ever, or a light. We talked about Cairo and wondered whether we would know it when we got to it. And I said likely we wouldn't, because I had heard say there weren't but about a dozen houses there. If they didn't happen to have them lit up, how was we going to know we was passing a town? Jim said if the 2 big rivers joined together there, that would show. But I said maybe we might think we was passing the foot of an island and coming into the same old river again. That disturbed Jim, and me too. So the question was, what to do? I said paddle ashore the first time a light showed and tell them Pap was behind coming along with the trading scow and was a green hand at the business and wanted to know how far it was to Cairo. Jim thought it was a good idea, so we took a smoke on it and waited. There weren't nothing to do now but look out sharp for the town and not pass it without seeing it. Jim said he'd be mighty sure to see it because he'd be a free man the minute he seen it, but if he missed it, he'd be in the slave country again and no more show for freedom. That is one of the greatest things I've ever read. And as you all know, they wind up missing the Ohio. There's a fog, they go through it, they don't see it, and now they're moving into the deep south and all that follows in the novel Huckleberry Finn. It's extraordinary. Nobody writes about the Mississippi River like Mark Twain. His book Life on the Mississippi is an American classic, and Huckleberry Finn is, in my view, the American classic. As you probably know, the novel's under fire because of the N-word. There are 218 instances of the N-word in Huckleberry Finn. And in some quarters, that means that the novel is being discontinued or canceled. I get all that. Of course, it's a different era. We don't look on that word without cringing and without deep shame today. But it would be a tragedy to jettison Huckleberry Finn because of this. There should be trigger warnings, there should be adequate introductions to it. We should try to contextualize this, because when Twain uses the N-word, he's not intending it to be racist, at least in his own voice. Now, some other people use it in the novel, and that's a different thing. But it would be a colossal mistake about American culture to toss this book away because of this issue. I have a friend who has rewritten it, taking the N word out and replacing it with something else. We all hate to see that happen too with an American classic. It's a real problem. And I don't mean in any way to try to paper it over or to say that it doesn't matter. It does. But there's only one Mark Twain, and there's only one Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and there's only one passage like that, and we have got to find a way to keep this novel. Just look at it. River, he said, was walled with high timber on both sides, still that way in 2025. Went drifting down to a big bend, you can see it right here. Twain somehow found it possible to capture slavery, the antebellum South, the innocence of youth, an impossible friendship between an older black man and a younger white boy. The river as metaphor, which is one of the most potent metaphors of all, and this river in particular, the mighty Mississippi. So we're just a few steps from that turn at Cairo, and I promise you we are not going to miss it. We'll see you down the road.